Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Because while those Dolphin fans are busy trying to predict wins and losses in the month of June, the Buffalo Bills are tweaking and tinkering with the perennial playoff participant. And if those fans still aren't paying attention, they might just miss what Buffalo has actually done to try to put themselves over the top. It's the Fish Out of Water Show. We're going to talk about it right now. And we are back at it. So, as we continue on into the dead period for the NFL, instead of the bogus ass filler content and clickbait, we're going to be forging ahead with our off-season series that fits the Fish Out of Water Show stilo. So while everybody's still staring at Miami and guessing at what they're going to do, we're studying the teams trying to beat Miami. We already took a look at the JETS suck, and we'll take a look at the Pats later on. But today we are seeing what the division foes, Buffalo Blows, have done this offseason in preparation for the Miami Dolphins and the rest of their regular season schedule. So, again, this is for the high football IQ guys and the extreme hardcore Dolphin fans. So, the casual fans, you are more than welcome to stay and engage, or you can click on through. Again, the thesis for these episodes should not be transaction reviews, free agency recaps, or draft recaps. The episode should be what problem are the Bills trying to solve? And that's going to lead us into our first segment. The Jets episode asked, what are the Jets trying to become? The Buffalo, that's right, I said Buffalo. The Buffalo episode asked, I know some Bills that's not going to like that, but they know what it is. They can see me. Are the Bills becoming more dangerous than people realize? And unlike the Jets, Buffalo isn't trying to find an identity. They are trying to evolve the current one that they have. So we know the standard. We talked about it last episode. Every team is usually, built to win the division. You win those games, you get the home playoff game, and if need be, you take the show on the road from there. So the question is still two parts. What are the Bills actually building, and how, if at all, does it affect the Miami Dolphins? And then everything will revolve around that. So, unlike the Jets, Buffalo isn't trying to become relevant. They already have been. And unlike the Jets, Buffalo isn't trying to figure out who they are. Hell, they've been winning the division for years. The Patriots thing is new. So, what is the problem that it is that they're trying to solve? It's very simple. The Bills are trying to become more dangerous. Not different per se, just simply more dangerous. More things that can hurt you. You got to look out for this. You got to look out for that. So last season exposed several weaknesses. The run defense, soft as a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
The offense became predictable. The receivers struggled to separate. And the turnovers absolutely crushed them, dude. The final straw of that season, 5 damn turnovers in a playoff loss, and 4 of them by your starting quarterback, Josh Allen. And when a season like that happens, you don't tweak around the edges. You as an organization, you start asking bigger questions. It's like a murder mystery. Who has the most to gain from this? So this is where teams start looking at, what the key shortcomings were and what happened to this, supposed perennial playoff contender. The primary shortcomings in 2025, turnovers and inconsistency. A primary issue was the regression in ball security. The team's turnover rate went from 4.6 in 2024 to 10.3 in 2025, and they fell to 17th in the league. And like I said, in the final playoff game, 5 turnovers, 4 by your starting quarterback, Josh Allen. The weak wide receiver production, the Bills receiver core, we're talking about 4, 5, 6 guys in the depth chart. Significantly struggled to get 2,100 yards, ranking 24th in the league. You're talking about a team that was one of only 6 in the NFL without a single receiver catching at least 5 touchdowns. So they was pretty sorry, and I know some Buffalo Bills fans who complained about the wide receivers, and they might agree with that. So the run defense vulnerabilities. While the pass defense did rank first in yards allowed, the run defense was a major liability, giving up 136.2 yards per game, and that inability to stop the run basically made the defense predictable, and it was difficult for them to get off the field on third down. And that would bleed into the slow defensive starts. So the trend there was that the defense's poor performance started in the first half of games. So while they were effective at making second half adjustments, and the need for those dramatic shifts coming in the second half came because they started like ass in a trash bag to begin with. And then so once they took a look at that, they get rid of the McDermott core. All of his familiar faces, the Matt Milanos, the A.J. Epinezas, Jordan Phillips, Tre'Davious White. They let the guys go to free agency. And then, of course, injuries, just like us, injuries plague any team. But the training concerns trip me out because players expressed a dissatisfaction with the training staff's ability to help them recover.
Sound like some gay shit to me.
As the team dealt with a high volume of injuries with key players like Gabe Davis and Dorian Strong, the torn ACL and the neck injury. You got to give them that. Injuries deplete the roster's depth. And the result of those shortcomings and the organizational roster fallout was the front office shift. You got Brandon Beane surviving the staff purge, and he basically consolidated control of the roster. The cap casualties started after that. They had to free up the cap space. The Bills cut times with the OGs, Teron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, Dane Jackson. They let them go. And in the major 2026 additions, what they did was the Bills aggressively retooled the roster. And this is the difference between a retool and a rebuild. We are rebuilding. They are retooling. So with their roster, they free agency and the trade market, they use that to stay competitive within the division. They go out and they get DJ Moore, Bradley Chubb signs with him, Geno Stone, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and then Lloyd Cushenberry. 3 out of those 5 are defensive guys, and that bleeds into what their defensive philosophy it has become with new defensive coordinator Jim Leonard. This guy's hired to implement a blitz-heavy, aggressive 3-4 type scheme, and that's going to be a drastic change from what they used to do. But if I'm the fan, I'm compliant. I don't care. But I'm saying what they have to learn a new scheme while they're in their so-called Super Bowl window. That scheme has to gel. It's not like it's just going to come together overnight. But they're going to struggle early in the season. But you got to believe by week 11 and week 17, they're going to be at least more than functional. And those are the only 2 weeks that we really care about because that's when we play them. So that takes them to the coaching and the leadership changes. The season's end saw this surprise firing of a successful longtime head coach, Sean McDermott, after 9 seasons.
What kind of shit is that?
So the critics are saying that they noted he became stale in nature. In the offense, there was a lack of oversight as the primary factors in the team's inability to reach the Super Bowl during his time. So general manager Brandon Beane takes over as president of football operations, promotes former offensive coordinator Joe Brady the head coach, and that's what sparked the turnovers and the scheme overhaul. So, but the big thing, the head coach changed. Joe Brady promoted basically 8 days after McDermott was fired. So even despite some of the players owing a lot of their success, they had beef with the firing of the previous coaching regime. And to me, as a fan, again, that should have triggered a coaching search. But instead, they hired the offensive coordinator that called the plays that led to your quarterback throwing 4 interceptions.
Now that's just fucking stupid.
So with the defensive overhaul, that started in free agency with Geno Stone and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Bradley Chubb. Buffalo clearly looked at that second game versus the Dolphins last year, where we left the Bills' defense just starving, and came through like the troops and raised the land and salted the earth so they couldn't eat again, you know.
I'm going to live through this, and when it's all over, I'll never be hungry again.
But Achane went stupid on him. You know, man ran for nearly 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, chunk plays. You know, the run defense got slapped around and bullied. And then now you see Buffalo spent the entire offseason trying to fix it. Like I said, new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard. He's got his new safeties. He's got more size on that squad. They're more physical, a new scheme, and a so-called brand new attitude. So the Bills are moving towards a defensive build, clearly, to stop the run. And the Dolphins just invested in starting their run game, did we not? So you see how that affects us. That's, you know, that song is about us.
You think this song is about you, don't you?
So, you know, they creating pressure, forcing mistakes, and they just there to make the offense uncomfortable. And if it sounds familiar, it's exactly what the Jets are trying to do too. The difference is Buffalo already has Josh Allen, who is a proven playoff commodity. And while I still believe that Geno will be better with his second tour of duty, but they got problems now with that assault charge investigation that's going on. So, you know.
Now you see now, you done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
Is his head going to be completely in the books? It's going to be a distraction for them. So, as one of my fellow Dolphin brothers told me, the Jets are going to jet. But you can't rely on that. But it is the Jets. Anyway, so that defensive overhaul started with the free agent signings, but it also culminates with the 10 players that they took in the 2026 draft. So that draft absolutely matches the plan of what they're doing. And here's how you know it isn't just Buffalo making changes for the sake of making changes. The draft mirrors the same story, because when an organization knows who they are, the draft starts matching the vision of the front office, very similar to what we're doing. Buffalo's first 2 picks tell you everything that you need about what they want at the core. So, and they went with the deliberate quantity and depth strategy, just like we did. We had 13 picks, they had 10. They traded out the first round entirely, and, you know, they went with stocking up on rookie contracts to offset the salary cap purge. Same thing we doing. So, trading back in the draft order, they eventually get to the second round and they pick up outside linebacker T.J. Parker, right? Physical kid, technically sound, edge setter, 39 career college tackles for loss. So, see, he can already do what we're asking a third-year veteran in Chop Robinson to start learning how to do. He's coming into the league with that production on his resume already. So the guy projects immediately to push into the pass rushing rotation. He's going to sit right behind Bradley. He will eventually be Bradley Chubb's replacement. Bradley Chubb ain't going to never see the third year of that contract. That dude is going to be filling in. They're going to let Bradley go. If he played on the O-line coaches would say he has advanced hand usage. So you remember E. Honda from Street Fighter and the 100-hand slap? Now you imagine that on defense and in live action. And then that's what you get. So the cornerback that they drafted, Davison Igbenusson. I like this kid here. I wanted us to draft him. Buffalo traded up to get this guy, physical boundary corner. He matches what they're trying to do with the aggressive press man coverage. You know, so that's exactly the kind of defensive back that you draft when you're trying to challenge receivers at the line of scrimmage instead of sitting back and reacting, which is what they used to do with McDermott. And a lot of fans complained about that, their fans anyway. So what does that mean for us, though, if we got wide receivers that can't get off the press like the rookie that we drafted, Caleb Douglas, or undersized Malik Washington? What do you do when your wide receiver can't get loose? You got to play him off the line to help create that separation, and it forces your tight end on the line. So if he's covered, he can't go out, and you're basically broadcasting that it's going to be a run play or a screen. But in this scenario, he'll be uncovered, and he's going to be first off the line of scrimmage. And that's most likely becomes Malik Willis's primary target. That's why a lot of the analysts are saying that Greg Dulcich will be Malik's primary weapon. I don't tend to disagree with that. The value picks, the projected starters that they took in rounds 4 through 5 on day 3, offensive tackle Jude Bowery, versatile blocker. He's going to project to go inside, but he's going to be pushing for starting time in the beginning. I hope he's a bust, but listen. They got rid of what's his name, Vandermark, so that dude's he should step in day 1. Skylar Bell, a guy that I like as a wide receiver. I thought that you could pick him up late, and they did. They got him in the 4th. He's a yak specialist, 833 yards after catch capability. So his potential to match up with what they did on the offensive side of the ball with DJ Moore and them, that dude could be a problem. Linebacker Caleb Elam's-Orr, you're talking about a linebacker that can run a 4.4 40-yard dash, and he can play sideline to sideline. And then what I thought was their best pick, my favorite pick, safety Jaylon Kilgore. This is a box-playing safety that's going to be a star. Yeah, he's going to be on special teams and to begin with, but he's going to eventually take the starting job from one of these safeties. How do I know he's good? Because I picked him in my mock draft. Now I can go get that safety. I'll go take Kilgore. I did the research. I checked the kid out. Defensive tackle, Zane Durant, twitchy, undersized 3 technique tackle built for gap shooting. He's going to immediately project into the pass rush rotation. So now you take a look at what our interior offensive line is. You got an undersized center in Aaron Brewer. You got a guy who's going back to his natural position at right guard in Jonas Savai-Naya. That you don't know if he's going to win the job or much less be effective at the position. And then we got this 6-foot forever behemoth of a left tackle that we're trying to fit into a round hold of a left guard position. So how does that stand up against somebody that's a gap shooting pass rush specialist? Couldn't even begin to tell you. But you see how that is a piece of the puzzle in the direction that Buffalo is going. There's a method to the madness, and that's something that Dolphin fans need to be aware of. The late round depth that they pick up, the basically practice squad players in depth. Cornerback Toriano Pride, punter Tommy Domon Jr., and guard Armaj Reed Adams. All right. So out of all of these moves, what is the one move that Dolphin fans should fear or be concerned about? Y'all are gonna say we ain't afraid of Buffalo. We shouldn't fear any of them. I get that, but let's be real here. We're not going Dolphin. We're trying to make a real analysis of it. So everybody sees the roster moves. Everybody sees the draft picks. Everybody sees the coaching changes. But the move that jumps off the page is DJ Moore. Not because he's a premier wide receiver, but because of what he represents. He's giving Josh Allen something that he hadn't really consistently had. That wasn't a headache, and that's a legitimate number 1 target. You're talking about a guy who can separate. A guy who can create after the catch. A guy who's already played in Joe Brady's system. So there's some familiarity there, which equals a level of comfort. And that's a fair assessment. So the trade picking up DJ Moore basically changed the Bills from a offense that was almost narcoleptic.
Maybe you got that weird sleeping disease. Narco sleepy.
And it gives Josh Allen a legitimate 3-level receiver. First level, second level, third level. You know, they basically they play like they getting ready to play. They was playing like some of the guys in the Madden Connected Franchise League that we got. Quarterback roll out left, quarterback roll out right. Read one option, and if he ain't open, take off and run. Ain't that right, Blue?
Blue, you're my boy!
So Moore coming into Joe Brady's offense. The problem that he solves is the Bills had the shortest average target depth in the NFL. So they had 9.2 air yards, even lower than you-know-who. And basically that let the opposing safeties crowd the line of scrimmage. They don't fear the deep threat. Sound familiar? The solution, Moore, he's going to stretch the field for them. He is one of 5 NFL players with 50-plus receptions on throws, 20 yards or plus in the air for the last 5 seasons. And his presence is going to force defenses to back off the line. So that opens up the underneath passing lanes. Besides being a yards after catch specialist and the system familiarity with Joe Brady, he generated 2 consecutive seasons of 1,100 yards, 18.1 yards per reception. So the play calling chemistry where Brady already knows how to utilize him in the RPO sets and the motion sets, and being able to take downfield shots just to test Josh Allen's arm to see if he can overthrow him. That's got to be looked at as an advantage for them. So you put a true number 1 wide receiver on the field for them, and that changes the targeting scope of the other pass catchers in their offense. You take the pressure off of Keon Coleman. He don't have to sit up there and pretend like he a number 1 option anymore. You let Khalil Shakir operate from the slot. You're going to have to put safety over the top. You cannot play him up tight. And then you unlock Dalton Kincaid underneath all of that. Shakir, Moore, underneath all of that, you got Dalton Kincaid. He going to cut you up underneath if you in single coverage. And I said all of that to say this is that when you got to back off, you got your safeties out of the box, what do you do when they turn around and hand the ball off to James Cook? Dangerous. It's a problem. So they looked at the offense and said they tired of forcing everything through Josh Allen. We're tired of asking him to carry the load. We're tired of asking him to always pick up the first down. We're tired of being a predictable offense. So they went and got him some real help. And as a Dolphin fan, that's what should be getting your attention. Because if Josh Allen starts getting easier throws, the rest of the division gonna have a problem. And as we said before, these are all things that they didn't have last year. And thusly, they are not the same team. And no team is the same from year to year. And that's why the clickbait episodes and the TikTok posts and the et cetera, are just that, clickbait.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
So what does it all mean for Miami? How does it affect the Dolphins? Because that's the whole point of this series. The Bills aren't building this roster to beat the Jets. They're not building it for New England. They're building it to stay at the top. And Miami is the biggest threat to that because we are the unknown quantity. Buffalo understands what Miami wants to do. Speed, space, explosiveness, and mismatch on offense and defense. But they've spent this whole offense trying to build answers and put a better supporting cast around Josh Allen. And the Bills aren't trying to become somebody else. They're trying to become a better version of the team that's already been beating the hell out of the AFC. So pay attention. The Bills aren't trying to reinvent themselves. They're trying to evolve into their final form. And that should concern Dolphin fans. Mostly because, not that they're unbeatable or that we can't catch them, but because Buffalo has truly identified its weaknesses and attacked them aggressively. They don't have to be the flashiest team in the division. But they might still be the standard until Miami comes along and proves it otherwise. And that's the reality of this upcoming season. And the season after that, and the season after that. Now, is it working for them or is it going to work?
I'm sure I don't know.
I've told you I'll never proclaim to have all the answers. The important part is that the names aren't the story. The pattern that they show you, that's what we do here at the Fish Out of Water Show. We show you the pattern that's emerging. You look at everything together.
Separately, they may seem unrelated.
They got a bigger defensive front. They got faster linebackers. They got more aggressive cornerbacks. They got better receiver separation now. And they added depth to the offensive line because injuries can kill a season. Will that depth hold up? You know, that's what they fans got to worry about. But it's something that we should be concerned about for Week 11 and Week 17. All of it means more versatility, just options for them. Like I said, the most dangerous team isn't the team that's just always adding talent. You know how we were adding talent? It's really sometimes a team that honestly identifies what went wrong with their season and fixes it, just like we're doing. So this is where you guys take over. This is where I need you to have some input and hit me up in the comments and tell me what you think about it, because as I said before, these moves make sense. The question is whether or not they really translate to on the field success. And if Joe Brady's going to succeed as a head coach, if the defense improves, if Derek Moore unlocks another level for Josh Allen, we're about to find all that out. So, yeah, y'all hit me up in the comments and be fair with it. Don't just go Dolph fan on it, because you know how you can do up in Iowa. So, yeah, again, these moves make sense, man. And that's why you got to keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Because if these changes work, the rest of the AFC East just might have some new problems to deal with. So that's it for me, man. Next time we'll take a look at the Patriot. Yeah. Before I go, I want to leave y'all with my favorite Buffalo Bills joke. It's not mine. I don't know who wrote it. Shout out to the comedian who did write it, because credit goes out to him. But yeah, man, a buddy of mine goes up north to go see the Buffalo. He wants to go on his tour, and tour guide takes him out on the plane. He says, "We're going out here to see the bison today." My friend raises his hand. He said, "Wait a minute. We're not supposed to be going to see the bison. We're going to see the buffalo. I've never seen a bison before." He said, "What's the difference between a buffalo and a bison?" Tour guide looked at him and said, "Bison have never lost 4 Super Bowls in a row." But zing! Fins up, foes down, y'all. Fish Out of Water Show. We'll get at you next one with the Patriots. See you then.